What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tony's Keys. This is episode number 4, and I got another batch of books ready to go. They're all pre-selected by my CLZ Comics app, so let's roll that intro and we'll get right down to it. Alright, so for the first book to start off this collection, we are going to 1994 Marvel Comics. This is X-Force issue number 32. It's a beautiful cover. It's part of the Child's Play storyline. I believe it crossed over with New Warriors. I think it's a little 4-part story involving the Game Master. And the key significance for this book is that it is the first full appearance of Cannonball's sister, Paige Guthrie. It's a really good book, and of course, anybody that was reading X-Men during this time knows that Paige would later become, I believe it was Skin, and then she would join Generation X. So it's a nice cheap little book, and if you get the chance, I'd pick it up. You probably still find it in the dollar bins. Alright, our next book comes again from Marvel. This is a Secret War 2 crossover tie-in, and it is Uncanny X-Men issue number 196. And its key significance is that it is a controversial comic issue. Somewhere in the pages, Kitty Pryde uses a racial slur, and that's really the only key significance with this book. It's a pretty decent story, and it's still worth it to have it in the Uncanny X-Men collection. So if you get a chance to pick it up, It's still fairly cheap. Next book comes to us from Marvel. Looks like we got a lot of Marvel. This is from 2020. This is a second print variant cover by Ivan Coel. It's a trade dress variant. This is Venom Volume 4, issue number 26. And in this issue, it's the first full appearance of the Virus, or first full appearance of Virus. And you later find out that I believe he was the Scorpion. But it was a pretty interesting character. He didn't really last that long, but he still was a pretty interesting character. And this is another one I think you can still pick up for fairly cheap. I'm not really sure what the prices are on it. Alright, next up from 2021, the Spawn streak continues. I've got Spawn issue number 316. This is the first appearance of Plague Spawn. I've got two different covers here I'm going to show off. This is the regular Francesco Mattina cover. And then I have this cover right here, which is a Greg Capullo and Todd McFarlane variant. Both of these are, in my opinion, pretty awesome covers. I like this one. This is probably my favorite one out of the bunch. But yeah, Spawn is one of my go-to books every month. I always say that, if you've watched any of my videos, I always say if I get a new issue of Spawn or something that's killing the children, I'm a happy guy. And I really am enjoying the Spawn series, all the Spawn titles so far. From 1987, our first DC book of the lot, we have Batman issue number 408. This is the first first post-crisis appearance in Todd, or basically the reintroduction of Jason Todd with a new origin. This is the first appearance of Ma Gunn. This is a really awesome book. It's a pretty awesome cover. I mean, how many times you see somebody trying to steal the tires off the Batmobile? Jason was pretty much a punk when he was a kid, but I mean, you still gotta love that. It's a great story as well, and you can still get this one fairly affordable. And if you get a chance, pick it up and read it. I'm sure you'll like it. From 1993, we have Deadpool: The Circle Chase, issue number 1. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, him and a few other people are fighting over Tolliver's will. Tolliver was his boss, when he first started. And he had his run-ins with X-Force at the beginning. The key significance for this issue is that this is the very first Deadpool solo title. And it's a really great story. I think about the same time or shortly after this, the Sabretooth series came out as well. It's got great art. It's really awesome. You should definitely pick it up if you get the chance. And I believe this one's also fairly affordable as well. Another fairly affordable key from the summer of 1998. We have Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 22. This was part of that summer-wide crossover event, the Evolutionary War, that went through all of Marvel's annual that summer. This is also the first appearance of Speedball. If you like him or whether you hate him, you're wanting to get his book or his first appearance, this is where you go. Alright, next up from 1989, we have Detective Comics issue number 608. This is one of the very first, it's not the first one. To be honest, I think it's the fifth one of Detective Comics I got, because I collected Detective Comics back in the day. I started with the Mud Pack, and then I believe this was next. But anyway, Detective Comics 608, this is the first appearance of Anarchy. He's a pretty cool character. You know, you find out, spoiler alert, that he's actually a kid, but he does actually become a pretty good formidable opponent for Tim Drake later on down the line. It's a great first appearance. It's a great key, and you should pick it up. It is not just for the key significance, but just because it's a really great book. Okay, so the next book is another one of my well-loved comics that I definitely need to get a better copy of, from 1988. This is Web of Spider-Man issue number 36. Now, the key significance according to the CLZ app is that this is the first appearance of Tombstone. Now, I'm going to go one further, since they don't really mention it as much, but this would also be considered the first cameo appearance of the second Tarantula. He shows up at the last page, a few panels at the end, in costume. I believe his name was Louis Alvarez. And that Tarantula, seemed like nobody really cared about him, even though I thought he was just as good as the first one. I don't think he was better, but he was just as good. He had some pretty good fights with Spider-Man, and I think he died fairly quick too. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, somebody from the jury snaps his neck like way later on. But anyway, it's between that and this being the first full appearance of Tombstone, it's definitely a book worth checking out. I'm sure you'd like it. Okay, moving on. From 1981, a very iconic and classic Frank Miller comic. This is Daredevil issue number 181. Of course, this is the death of Elektra. Anybody ever watched the Daredevil movie, you'll notice, if you've ever read this book, that they took the death of Elektra in the movie almost panel by panel from the comic. Now, it's Frank Miller's writing, and it's a really great book. I think you should pick it up if you get the chance. It's starting to spike a little bit, but if you can find one fairly easy, I would suggest you pick it up. There's also a facsimile of this as well. Our next to last book comes to us from 1966, and I'm going to be honest with y'all. If it wasn't for the fact that it's the oldest book in my collection and the key significance, I probably wouldn't show it. This thing is heavily dashed. My cousin bought it this way. I bought it from my cousin this way. Some joker or some kid colored in the X-Men logo. But I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here anyway. Like I said, from 1966, this is X-Men issue number 17. That's a nice looking red cover. And it's the first appearance of Dr. John Thomas. And, I mean, if I can afford it, I'm going to have to try to get me a better copy of this. But, I mean, I love the fact that it's the oldest book in my X-Men collection. But it just hurts just looking at the way that cover was colored on and everything. So who knows, maybe one of these days I can get me another one. And our final book of the list for this episode, it seems like my CLZ app loves this series, but it's a great series to pick. It's a legendary series. This is Crisis on Infinite Earths issue number 8. I believe this is what, the third series or third Crisis book my app's picked, so apparently it likes Crisis as much as I do. Of course, you know the key significance for this issue is that this was the death of Barry Allen. Barry sacrifices himself to save everyone, and it is a great key issue. It's a great story. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times, and I'll say it to the day I die. You need to read Crisis on Infinite Earths. It is one of the best DC stories ever made, period. That's just my opinion, but I mean, hey. And like I said, you can either pick up the singles or the trade. Either way, you can't go wrong. I mean, like I said before, to me, this series is a testament to George Perez's legacy and his greatness. Look at that cover. How can you not like a cover like that? And that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate you watching. Appreciate you checking out these books. And if you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. Later on this week, the Tony Comic Spotlight episode we'll be looking at is Something Is Killing the Children, issue number 1, which features the first appearance of Erica Slaughter. It's a really awesome series. It's one of my top 5, like I said when I was talking about the Spawn book. You know, it's my go-to series. It's probably my favorite series so far, that I've just really enjoyed it, and I hope y'all like the Spotlight. That should come out sometime between Thursday or Saturday. I'm hoping for Thursday, but we'll see. And until next time, everyone, take it easy. See you later. Be safe, and God bless. See ya.